class. And I'll turn on mics at the end of class today too. So welcome everybody. This is our Better Balance class. I know I have like a mix of some of our regulars and some new people today because it's also our life inspired class of the month. Every month we've been just during the pandemic kind of picking one of our classes as our life inspired class, just being a free community class. So hopefully it encourages people to maybe try something that you haven't tried before. Come and hang out with us. So Better Balance class, all you need for class today, mainly a chair. Other props that we use, but you can always substitute, would be a pillow. We're really using that for some inner thigh work. So that could be like a towel folded up. It could be a ball, anything you like. A resistance band. If you don't have a band, grab an old pair of leggings and use that. And then I have a small, I'm just using some 3-pound weights. You could do 1 pound, 3 pound, you could do heavier if you wanted, for a little bit of strengthening work. If you're new to our Better Balance class, let me tell you a little bit about it quick before we start. This class is really designed to help you get better at balance. And I know those that do it on a regular basis can really kind of feel that difference and feeling more confident in their balance. The things that we specifically work on to help with our balance are, 1, mobility, right? Like range of motion, whether it's our shoulders, our hips, our back, our whole body, being able to kind of move fluidly and adjust is super important when it comes to balance. Strength. Some of the things that we're doing in class are just plain good strengthening things for your muscles, because when we get off balance, we need that strength to bring us back. Core strength. So we'll kind of always tie in engaging our center, moving from our center, that kind of thing, how to engage those deep abdominal muscles, because it helps us get better at balance and really helps us kind of stay centered. We'll talk a lot, or maybe little and lots, about feet and ankles, right? Feet and ankles, I always call them like the first line of defense against balance, or maybe against falling, right? So if you're walking and your foot lands on something kind of funny, it has to turn or adjust. If you don't have mobility and strength in your feet and ankles, then everything else in your body has to work harder for you to stay upright. So we'll do some stuff there. And then my last little thing that we kind of always work on is just practicing our balance. So one of the best ways to get better at balance, to kind of prepare your body for when you're out in life and not really thinking about balance, but you have those moments, is to practice things in kind of this safe environment that challenges your balance, makes you wobbly, makes your body go, oh, that's how I do that. That's how I do it. So just like an athlete practicing their sport, we're going to practice our balance. All right, let's get started on our chairs. We're going to scoot up to that front edge of our chair. I just want you to sit tall for a moment, let your shoulders drop down, and just take some breath. Right? Take that big Pilates breath where we inhale through our nose. And we try to take a breath that just expands your whole rib cage. I call it the breath that I can see. If I was watching you, I want to see your whole rib cage expand and get bigger. And then as you exhale, I want to see your waist pull in, right? And that kind of rib cage close back in. And just play with taking a few breaths like that, where you take that big inhale that I can see, that you can kind of visualize. And then those exhales that you kind of start to feel those core muscles pulling in. You feel your chest kind of pull in a little bit. Do one more breath just like that. And just notice how that automatically kind of brings us into that good posture as we're there. All right, we're going to warm up a little bit. Let's start with just some shoulder rolls. And we're just going to lift our shoulders and roll them back and around. All right, lots of movement here while you're keeping that tall lifted spine. Just circling those arms around, or circling the arms, circling your shoulders around. All right, let's do like 2 more of those. And then you're gonna go the other way. All right, round the shoulders forward. Again, just kind of feeling your shoulder blades moving around on your back, lifting, rolling forward, moving around in space, and then just let those shoulders kind of hang down. I want you to get a little just warming up through our neck. So we're sitting tall, and I want you to start with just can you just look over one shoulder, take a nice big inhale, And then you're gonna turn and you're gonna look over the other shoulder. And then just this nice slow turn side to side. And what I want you to notice is kind of your end ranges, your like moments where you're like, oh, that's starting to stretch something in my neck. And we just want to go to those places and maybe hold them for little bits. You don't have to hold for super long, but go there gently. Don't force it. And we just want those muscles to gently stretch. We're staying lifted. We're thinking about our posture that whole time. We're gonna go next into what I call my smiley face neck rolls. We're gonna pretend like your tip of your nose is a marker. You're gonna start by looking over one shoulder, and then you're gonna draw a smiley face, kind of nice and slow with the tip of your nose until you're looking over the other shoulder. And then you'll come back and kind of reverse it and go that other direction. Slow is kind of the name of the game on these because you want to feel the stretches. Remember, it doesn't have to be extreme, but you want to feel like, oh yeah, there, some muscles are gently stretching. And we're just giving ourselves kind of that time. Time is key when it comes to lengthening muscles, stretching muscles. You have to put those muscles in a place where they're lengthening for little bits of time so that they start to lengthen out. They start to go, oh, that's where I should be. Let's do one more there. Just looking over the shoulder and then just come back to center. We're gonna do a little spine movement next. You decide where you want your hands. You could have them on your knees. You could have your arms out in front of you, or you can even put your hands behind your head on these. We're going to pull our abdominals in. I'm gonna start with on my knees. Curl your spine back. Get really rounded in your back. And then you're gonna reverse that. You're gonna roll up into a little arch. So you feel like you're kind of rocking on your sitting bones back and forth. So it is a inhale, scoop your belly in, feel some stretches in your back. And then as you exhale, lift your head, stick your tail out, pull your shoulder blades together. And we'll go back and forth. Nice big breath. Will kind of facilitate when you pull those inhales in. When you force that exhale, you'll find that you can move more through your back. Inhale as you curl. Exhaling as you roll into that arch. Let's get one more in. Just kind of want that flowy movement through our spine. And then that arch. And then we're just going to come back center. We're going to do a little side bend next. So on this one, you can take your arm and reach it up by your ear, and you're going to tip your head to the side and do a little side bend. And then come back to center. And then you can go the other. I'm going to turn this way for this one. As you inhale, reach up and over. And then exhale to come back up. And more than anything, I want you to keep the hips anchored. Feel like you're lifting and reaching over. And then coming back. And remember that breath, those big inhales that kind of feel like they lift your chest up, lift your rib cage up. And then exhales always remind us of that core work, pulling up and in. Let's do one more on each side. Inhale, reach. And that exhale to come back up. Inhale into that reach. And exhale to come up. And then we're just going to do a gentle twist. This is like our warm-up twist. So take these slow. Sometimes I like a little like press my hand on my leg a little bit. Maybe you're feeling like just some ragdoll arms today, but I want you to just kind of explore your rotation or your twist. End ranges should feel like a little bit of a stretch, but not forcing it. Think about staying lifted the entire time. So we're rotating, but we're not collapsed. We're not like down here doing it. We're lifting up that entire time as we do that little side to side. Just getting warmed up in our back. All right, we're gonna head next into our chair roll downs. So if you're not already, get up at that front edge of your chair. Stomp your feet down into the mat. I want you to feel like you're really pushing down through those feet. Again, choices on hands could be knees, arms in front, or even hands behind your head. On this one, I want you to take it nice and slow. We're gonna tuck or tilt our pelvis, pull our abdominals in, act like we were rolling down to that chair surface. But of course, we'll roll back and that chair will kind of stop us. And then we're gonna lead with the top of our head to curl forward. Once your shoulders get over your hips, you're gonna sit nice and tall. So add some breath to that. I like an inhale as I'm curling back, kind of find the chair, press into it a little. Exhale as you curl forward and lift tall. Remember some options. Hands behind the head will feel just a little more challenging if you're feeling up to that, rounding back. And then that curl to come forward and lift tall. Inhale, pelvic tuck. Feel your hips tilt and round underneath of you as you roll back. And then curl forward and get that like almost lift off your sitting bones. Let's get one more of those in. Abdominals pull in. Remember, our legs are active. They're kind of pushing in a little bit. We want them to work. Exhale, pull abdominals in and sit tall. Now we're going to add just a little rotation to that. Arms can be out in front, or you can play with this behind your head. I'll show you both on there. You're gonna start curling back. It's the same tuck and curl back, and then you're gonna open up your arm and maybe see how far you can twist. I like this other arm reaching out in front. And then we're gonna bring the arm around as you come back up. So this is gonna get a little more of our obliques as you curl, reach, look at that back arm, and then feel those stomach muscles tighten in to bring you back up. You can inhale, exhale to come back up, or of course just breathe, because no, like I'll probably always give you a breath, but it's always fine if you're exhaling when I tell you to inhale, or vice versa. Do what works best for you. Let's get one more of those in each direction. Again, hands behind the head option, curl, twist, maybe we're looking at the back elbow, and then coming back and lift tall. Curl, twist, look at that back elbow, and then coming back and lifting tall. All right, next up, we're gonna do a flat back hinge. So we use our flat back hinges throughout some of our balance practice today. So this is kind of the first time we get to do it. What I want you to find before we do anything is that feeling of your stomach muscles pulling up and in. So I like to have a little moment, like hand on the front side, hand on the back side. Feel how you can pull your stomach muscles up and in and just be super tall and lifted. And our back is flat, it's straight. Right? And you don't have to keep your hands here, but if it helps you for a few, definitely do. Can we hinge forward and back? And our back doesn't change, right? And arms options, you could have your hands on your legs for these. Just play with how far can you go without having to like round or change your back. And then bring yourself back over those hips, hands behind your head. Good option. Inhale to reach forward. Exhale to come back up. Let's get one more in. And you can play with what I call like the end ranges. So for me, when I'm hinging forward, my sitting bones are reaching, like that's a nice little stretch for me in my low back. And then stomach muscles pull in to come up. Now we're gonna go the other way, which always feels like more core work. You decide where you want hands, knees, arms out in front or behind the head, always fine. I'm gonna go right in the middle. You got that flat back, and then you're leaning, really lifted, lots of low belly pulling up and in, and then bring yourself back. It is not a very big movement. Feels like a ton of work, but like maybe an inch or two, right? Maybe you go a little further each time. If you're feeling any strain in your back, you probably went too far or you're not pulling in from your center. And if it helps you, put a hand on your stomach and pull in from it. Don't let it push out, pull up and in the entire time. That's that deep abdominal work that we want that helps us kind of support our whole center on there. And you can do any of those options. You can even have hands here. Let's get one more because those are so good. I kind of love that, like feel our core, right? Moments. And then coming back. Okay, good. All right, come back to center. We're gonna warm up a little bit through our feet and ankles because we use them a lot in our balance work. Let's start and just do a little rock through our feet. So you're just gonna roll up to like your tippy toes, and then I want you to feel like you're pushing your feet into the floor, lifting all your toes and spreading them apart. So we do a rock, and then you're gonna press and lift. You could have your legs a little further out, a little further in. Do what works for you on these. But just feel like those feet they're working, they're stretching, they're trying to like press the sole of the foot down into the mat or floor, wherever you're at there. Let's do one more there. Yeah, and lift. And then we're gonna lift one leg up. I'm gonna turn a little bit this way. I'm gonna start with my left leg. I'm just gonna hold my leg a little bit. And if you wanted to lift it higher, you could, but I'm gonna hold mine kind of low. Nice and tall. And what I want is just a little flex and point. And make it kind of your ranges, like point as much as you can point. Flex, spread your toes. Feel like the top of the shin and the foot are really working when you pull back and just kind of getting your range. When I point, I always like to think that my toes were going to curl around and touch my heel, which of course we know it's not possible, but if that helps your brain like mine, you can try that out. Try some circles next. Take them slow, take them kind of nice and big. Notice like your lower leg isn't moving. We're just taking the foot and circling around at the ankle. And notice your toes, spread them, go the other way. Get some that way. Good, and then let's do just a little hold the leg. I want you to straighten the leg, flex your foot, spread your toes apart again, and then softly point to bend. Let's do that a few times. When you straighten that leg, don't sink in your back. Flex your foot, spread your toes apart, and then softly point and come back one more time. Stretch to straight, flex the foot, spread those toes, and then softly point and bring it back down. And then we'll do the other side. So we'll lift our leg up, just start supported hold, and you're just gonna flex and point. Get as much movement through that ankle and through your toes as you can. All right, feel some space. I always like a little space in my toes when I'm moving them around. Do some circles. Go through that point and flex. And then go that other way and circle and circle and circle. And then go ahead and do the straighten your leg, flex your foot. Can you spread your toes apart? And then softly point to bend back in. Let's take two more of those. Straighten, flex, spread the toes. And then bringing it back. Remember to stay tall and lifted, don't sink. Straighten, flex, spread the toes, and then bring them back and bring it back down. All right, we're gonna head next. We're gonna grab our resistance band, or if you're using like a pair of leggings or something, just open them up, put your feet in. We're gonna stomp our feet down onto our band. Sit nice and tall, a little bit of our strength work here. We're gonna start with a little bit of our, like a pull up or like a rowing action. You're gonna pull up, and then you're gonna slowly straighten. Things I want you to think about as we're doing this is nice tall spine. Core muscles are pulled up and in. When you pull up, there's no lifting those shoulders, right? So that's some active work. You gotta think about pulling your shoulder blades down as your arms pull up as we're doing these. Always, the great thing about a resistance band, you can decide how much tension you want, right? You can choke down on the band or up on the band to change your tension, kind of adjust your work. Always nice to get a challenge, right? As we're doing these, you want to feel like you're doing some work as you're doing it, but not make it impossible. We're also, besides getting all this arm and good shoulder work and upper back work, we're getting like just our core work here to sit tall as we're doing them. We're gonna get like two more in. And back, one more time. Don't forget to breathe. All right, straight arms. We're gonna go to some straight arm presses. So all I want is a straight back and then bring the arms forward. Again, you decide where you want to choke up on your band. Straight back. When you go back, see if you can lift taller and then bring the arms forward. Inhale, press. Exhale to come back. Should feel like some tricep work. You should feel those backs of the arms as we're doing these. Never a bad thing. And press and come back. Let's do press back, squeeze in towards your chair, open the arms and come back. So a little bonus in there. You can do a full inhale, press and squeeze, and then exhale to come back, or of course just breathe. Press back and squeeze, open and bring them back. Those squeeze moments, see if you can feel like you're like pushing through your feet and you almost like you were gonna stand up. Yeah, that just activates those core muscles, kind of activates everything through that lower half of your body. And coming back, let's get one more of those in. Press back, squeeze, push through those legs, open, and then bring them back. All right, roll those shoulders around a little bit. Take your band, we're gonna bring it right up to our legs, and we're gonna take it and cross over. You do not have to tie this. Just cross it over and then give it a little hug and hold it. That way you can adjust. If you want less tension, you loosen it. If you want a little more, you just tighten it up. These are seated clam shells. Gonna work our external rotators, which are very important for balance work. Feet and knees together. We're gonna start with just a clamshell. You're just gonna open the thighs and knees and then squeeze back in. And while you're doing these, open and back in. You're lifting tall, feeling your shoulders drop down, feeling your neck long. We got our core muscles engaged. Remember, these are the ones that really meant to be kind of this endurance work. I don't know about anybody else, but at first I'm like, oh, they're not so bad, right? Am I working? And then by the time we get done with this set, you're like, yeah, I'm working, because we're wearing them out, those muscles, with some endurance work. Open and back in. So if you're doing like your first few and you can barely move your band or something, like give yourself a little slack. You'll appreciate it as we get to the end of these. Let's do 2 more. Open and back in. Open and back in. And then I want you to do, I call these my 50% ones. I want you to open to 50%, halfway of your full range. That should be some work. We're sitting tall. From there, we're going to go from 50 out to our 100 and back to 50. We're going to go out, back to 50. We get 3 and in, and we're staying tall. 4 and back in, feeling those core muscles. 5 and in. 6 and in. 7 and back. Last one. 8. Bring it all the way in. I want you to go right to your full clamshells. Open. Remember, these are the endurance. This is the endurance. We're not taking the rest on these. Open and back in. Open and back in. This is 0 to 100, all the way up to your full range and all the way back in. Work in both directions. Push into the band, and then when you come in, I like a little, even like once my legs touch, kind of squeeze them together and like feel your inner thighs moment. Right, they're working the whole time, but when you press them into each other, you'll feel them engage. You'll get like a little bonus moment. And those are always good. I feel like if we're doing these, we got to do them the best we can. Let's do like 2 more here. Open, squeeze them back in. One more time. Full range, 100, all the way in. Now let's go to our 50%. Find that work. Just to be there's work, right? 50 to 100. We're going to do a set of 8. We're going to go 1, back in, 2, and in. 3, remember to stay tall. 4, and in. 5, and back. 6, just to 50. 7, and back. Last one, we're coming all the way in. We have 1 more full set of clamshells. All the way out, all the way in, all the way out. Good. Check in with your all the way out, especially as we get tired. I always find like you get to what feels like you're in range and you have just a little bit more. So don't skip through that little bit more part when you get there and come back in. All right, takes kind of everything, core pulling in, legs pressing into your band, all of the things to have that good form as we're doing them. All the way out, kind of feels like we're almost holding those end ranges, but really you're just getting the like full benefit of it, if that makes sense. Press and back in. Let's get 1 more full one. We have 1 more set of our 50%. These are the extra fun ones where we do them 1 leg at a time. We're opening up to 50%. Get there, feel the work. Now I only want you to move your right leg to 100 and back in. Left one's holding still. We go 2 and back. 3, back to 50. 4, back to 50. 5, stay tall. 6, and in. 7, 1 more. All right, now right leg is holding still. It's at 50%. Left leg goes 50 to 100 and back in. And we get 2 and in. Be up on those sitting bones. 3 and back. 4 and back. 5 and 6 and 7, last one, and then we bring them all the way back in, and then we are done with those. You get a little rest, shake your legs out. Let's grab your pillow or whatever you're using for your inner thigh. So I like my pillow, it's a floofy one, so I kind of fold mine in half, but you can do it however you want. Really, you just want something between your inner thighs to squeeze into, because we're gonna just work on engaging and strengthening those inner thighs. So get whatever you got between the legs, sit tall, and then let's do our squeeze and release. Actively squeeze in and release. Kind of thinking of that end range work here too, right? So when you squeeze in and you think like, oh, that's all I got, maybe try to go a little further and then slowly release. Squeeze and release, right? Those end ranges. Kind of just want to feel those inner thighs. Maybe noticing if you feel one side more than the other, which is normal. That's like an okay thing. Oftentimes we have one side that's not as strong as the other side. So when we start doing all this work, you might feel like your weaker side going like, oh, what are we doing? I'm not used to working so much. Squeeze in and release. Squeeze and release. Squeeze. These are those endurance ones too. We're gonna keep going. Now, on the next one, right leg holds still, left leg tries to knock it over, squeezes in, releases. Squeeze in, release. Remember those little hold movements, squeeze, and then release. And then squeeze and get taller, and release. Let's do one more, squeeze, release. Go ahead and go right to switching it. Left leg holds still, right leg squeezes in, releases, squeezes in, releases, squeeze, release. Two more, squeeze, release, hold, and release. Back to both legs. Squeeze them in, have those little like hold it a moment, and then release. Squeeze, hold, release, right? The hold is like going a little more, and then release. Sitting nice and tall. Good. I'm feeling our core muscles. Kind of feeling that like pelvic floor lift up through our center work as well when we're sitting up on those sitting bones. Squeeze, release. Let's do 3 more. Squeeze them, release, squeeze, release, squeeze. We're gonna do one more set of our single leg lunge. Right leg holds still, left leg squeezes in, and then releases. Squeeze and release. And remember, these are meant to be that endurance. So the more we do them, the more you kind of feel them. Squeeze, or at least I do. Probably you guys are too. One more. Switch them out. Left leg holds still, right leg squeezes and release. Squeeze and release. Remember, just do a check-in on that posture. Are you sitting as tall as you can? Shoulders down and back and release. Let's get one more in. Squeeze, release. One last set of both of them. Squeeze them, release. Let's do squeeze, hold, 2, 3, and release. Squeeze, hold, 2, 3, and release. Squeeze, hold, 2, 3, and release. One more time. Squeeze, hold, 2, 3, and then release. Okay. Woo, got a little inner thigh work. We're done with our pillow. I'm going to toss mine to the side for now. Next up, we are going to do our sit to stance. So key things with your sit to stand. Take a moment to like look at your alignment. If you need to like look down, your knees should be straight forward over the middle of your feet, about hip width apart, right? We don't want our feet way out here. We don't want this kind of thing going on where our feet collapse in. We're going to get them all lined up. We're going to get that flat back hinge we practiced earlier. We're going to hinge forward first. If you need help from your chair, use it. If you don't, then maybe you take those hands out in front. We're going to stand up. And then when you come back down, nice and controlled, how kind of slow can you reach back down? All right, breathe along the way. We're coming up, nice and slow. The slow, especially on the way down, is important because you don't want to just like plop down. Right? You miss like a lot of the good work if you just plop. So we're gonna reach and just like barely tap down, right? Hinge forward, stand up. Core muscles pulled in that entire time. Let's get one more like that one. Hinge forward, stand up. Remember that good alignment. Maybe just like check in every once in a while. Because if you tend to turn out your feet or your legs, I promise that they'll do it and you won't even know it. You have to look visually to see it. Okay, next set, one leg at a time, kind of. So feet stay in the same spot. You're going to pick, for those of you guys that do this one, if you know which side is your harder side, start with it. And you're going to just think that most of the work is coming from that leg. Mine's my left one. So I'm going to start and I'm going to think I'm just really weighted in this leg. Of course, the other side's doing a little bit, but almost I could pick my foot up. And if you're like, oh, I think I could do this and like kind of lift my heel and come up, it'll feel like more work, but you don't have to. You can leave it down and come back. We're going to shoot for 5 on one side and then we're going to switch. And super important to keep checking in with that alignment every once in a while. Again, especially if you know your patterns, if you're somebody that turns in or your knee kind of collapses in or your foot turns out, your body will go back to that if you don't check in with it until it's more of a habit as we come up. I think that's our 5. If you're counting at home, switch out. It never hurts to get a little extra one in now and then switch and do the other side. All right. So however you best like that, you can lean both feet down. If you're like, oh, I'm going to challenge a little more. I want to kind of lift. For me, if I just like lift my heel and only set there, I seem to work a little harder through that one leg. So that's an option if you want. more than anything, we're loading that one leg, right? A little more specific strength training just for one side helps us to balance our body out a little bit because we tend to have one side stronger than the other. Let's do one more, or get your 5 in, of course. And then coming back. Okay, come on down. Grab your weights or whatever you're using for some weights today, or you can just pretend. We're gonna get a little wrist strengthening in to start us off. We're gonna set our arms on our thighs. Remember, this is kind of a scrunch forward position. So do all you can do to pull your stomach in, pull your shoulders down, kind of be long in your back so you're not just like hanging out here. We're gonna take our weights and kind of roll them down toward our fingers, and then we're gonna curl the weights toward our forearms. So you're just gonna unroll and roll back up. Unroll and roll back up. Just getting some good wrist strengthening here. One of those things that I think we forget about sometimes. So I like to add it in. Roll and back up. Let's get one more of those. And then we're gonna do wrist side bends. So I want you to take your weight, take your palm kind of in line with your forearms, and then you're gonna do these little, I think they feel like baby side bends, side to side. If you look down, just notice if your forearms are moving. Ideally, they are locked in place and you're just bending in and out as you're doing them. And hopefully your back feels like it's in a good place, right? You're not scrunched forward on those. Good, let's do one more of each. And then we're gonna flip our palms over, basically do that same little sequence in reverse. So our forearms are on our legs and we're gonna pick up our hands and then slowly lower. Pick them up. And really what you want is that we're bending at that wrist joint to lift and lower. Of course, if it doesn't seem doable to set your hands here, you can do these up in space. Sometimes it's just harder to not move your forearms. I like to have them connected to something. Let's take like 2 more of those. Lift and lower, lift and lower. And then let's lift, have that weight in line with your forearm. And then you're gonna do little side bends that way. Right, little in and out, wrist side bends. And again, by the time we get here, we've already done quite a bit of rest work. So usually these feel a little harder. In and out. Let's do one more in each direction. And then come up. If you just set whatever you're using for weights down, maybe give those hands a shake. It's a good time to give them a little stretch. Again, go with what feels good. A little squeeze in and release with your hands. That kind of thing can feel really good. All right, we're gonna take our weights. We're gonna practice our chest expansion exercise. We're sitting tall. We're gonna reach our weights out in front of us, settle our shoulder blades in on our back. As you inhale, I want you to push your weights, pull them back, straight back, squeeze in towards your chair, and then you're gonna add a little neck turn. Look one way, look the other way, come back to center, and then slowly bring them back up. This is that same action we did with our band, right? We pull the arms back and we squeeze in. You should feel your triceps. Look one way, look the other way, back to center. Weights come up, but those shoulders settle down or pull down. Inhale, press back, squeeze in, look and look. Back to center. Weights come back up. We're gonna get one more. Press back, squeeze in, hold it. Look, look. Back to center, weights come back up. Bring it back to your lap for a moment. Let's do some bicep curls. So bicep curls are just a curl in at your, bending at your elbow and straighten. I like to do, I don't know, I call them like the creative ones where you don't have to stay in the same spot for them. And in fact, we kind of want to vary it up a little bit. So maybe some of them you do with your elbows out here in space. And maybe some of them you want to do out in front. All the while keeping your shoulder blades pulled down and back, and they're kind of just nice and slow, right? Slower the better, right? Especially if you're using kind of a lighter weight, and you can still get really great strength work with that lighter weight, but it's helpful if you slow it down. If you just kind of slop through them, you won't get as much good strengthening as if you do them slow. And you can just vary where those arms are as you're doing them. It's all good. Straighten and bend. Straighten and bend. Let's get like 3 more. And remember, we're just kind of tiring those muscles out. Tends to be a little more endurance work, especially if you're using a lighter weight. And as we get toward more reps, you're gonna feel it more. And then you can give them a little rest. We're gonna get some tricep presses in as well. Take your weights. On these, I like a little flat back hinge forward. So you just feel like at least a little slight lean. Pull the arms up, pull the elbows high, and then you're gonna kick the arm back and straighten it. Hold that movement and like really squeeze your tricep or back of arm because it's the good movement, and then come in. Don't have to do it that long, but definitely feel it. And then squeeze in, feel the front of the arm. Press to that tricep press and then squeeze in. Those end ranges can give us just that little bit more like work moments. Taking advantage of those, kick them back, squeeze them in, kick back, squeeze in. Let's do 2 more long necks. And so we're not overly lifting our chin up and not feeling good in our neck as we press. And then bring those back. Okay, come back, give those shoulders a little shake out. We're gonna get our pour the drink exercise in. We are holding our weights out here in space, pretending like they are pitchers of something. And then you are going to pour out whatever's in your pitcher. You're gonna upright your pitcher and like slosh it the other way. The action that we want is an internal rotation of your upper arm bone and an external rotation of your upper arm bone. You can play with where you do these. They can be out here wider. They can be more out in front of you. You'll feel it just changes the work a little bit. So I always think it's good to vary it up, do it in different places. Just make sure you're not scrunching your shoulders on them. Right? Make sure you don't have the weights too high because then you'll really want to lift those upper traps as you're doing them. Let's do 2 more. And open. 1 more time. You can do these without the weights too, if the weights feel like it's too much, depending on how heavy those weights are. And then just roll those shoulders. All right, we're gonna get to our next set of sit and stand. We are done with those weights. Set them to the side. We're gonna come back to that really good alignment through both legs. Feet and knees at hip width apart. Find that flat back, pull abdominals up and in, hinge forward, and come up to standing. And then bring yourself back down with control. So we get that same thing we did before. Coming up, and then remember, slow yourself down on that way down. Always find to grab your chair, and if you need, check in with your feet. Okay, I just got to check in with mine. Ideally, we have nice kind of even pressure across the balls of the feet. We're not letting our feet roll in or out. We're also not letting our knees do things like this or this when we come up. Our legs are straight in line underneath our hips. Let's get one more like that one. Hinge forward, stand up, and coming back. Good, and then let's come up to standing. We're gonna stay here and we're gonna go into all of our fun standing balance work next. So we will start with a little standing roll down. The first couple that I have you do, I want you to stand with those feet about hip width apart. I'm gonna turn to the side. You're gonna find some energy in your arms. So make your arms straight, check in with your shoulders, and you're going to curl down through your spine. Shin to chest first. I want you to bend through that upper back, your middle back, your low back, and you're just curling down until it feels like a good stretch for you on your backside. And then you're gonna roll back up. And when you come up, you're gonna think upright your pelvis, pull your stomach muscles up and in, and stack up and just keep a little energy in your arms. Try that one more time. Curling down. As you're rolling, you're feeling those stomach muscles pull up and in, maybe feeling that nice stretch in the backs of the legs as you go down, and then curling to come back up tall. Good, and then we're gonna make it a little more fun, a little more balance work. You're going to cross one leg over the other. You'll wanna be near your chair so you can use it for balance. The cross of the leg is up to you. I just did a really tight cross of my legs, but yours could be more open. You can have one foot out here in front. More than anything, I just want you to be a little bit off balance when we do this. So go to where you're comfortable, find those arms in front of you and do your roll down, inhaling halfway. Exhale as you curl down toward the floor.
and then roll yourself back up. Just noticing how you get a little wobbly, how your body has to adjust, right? That is the good part. That is exactly what we want. If you're new to this balance work, kind of our whole goal is we're gonna do 3 and then we'll switch. Can we make ourselves wobbly? And then kind of work through it so that our body learns how to adjust and it knows what to do when you have those moments when we're not like actively thinking about it and we get off balance. We automatically will kind of go to what we know how to do.
Once you get your 3 in, you're gonna switch. So you can just take a moment and switch the cross of your legs. Again, make sure you're always feeling safe on there. You have something to hang on to. Arms in front. We're gonna roll down. I always love this one because you can see your feet, right, as you're rolling down. And you can notice like how much they have to work. They have to adjust as you roll up and down. As you go through different places in your back, your legs, your feet and ankles are constantly adjusting. Inhaling for half, exhale. Rolling down and kind of getting to get the balance part. You get the stretchy moments. Those are equally important to get that mobility in our body. We need to have those moments where we're stretching, lengthening muscles, rolling down. Remember, we're getting 3 in. And then we're rolling to come back up. And then take a little rest moment. Next up, we're gonna do our flat back hinges. So coming back to that flat back hinge idea again, do just a couple for me with both feet on the floor, hip width apart. And I just want you to practice. You can have your hands wherever you like. If you want them on your body, if you want them just like reaching out here. I just want you to practice that. Can we hinge forward right at our hip joint and then bring ourselves back up? Maybe imagining there's a board on your back, right, that you're kind of glued to. And you just get to hinge at your waist. When you get to your end range, this is probably gonna be a stretch on those backs of those legs. And then bring yourself back up. And then we will practice it with a little more balance focus. So I'm gonna start on my left leg. You can always start on what side you wanna start on. Strong, straight leg. Have your hand on your chair. Of course, if you decide you don't need it, then you can, not hang on and have arms out. One leg reaching behind. So we start in our balance and then you're gonna do that hinge. How much you lift the back leg is up to you. The more you lift and reach with the back leg, the more strength work you're gonna get. And again, it's meant to be wobbly. So just be in that place. You decide if you wanna hang on or not, right? If you're hanging on, notice if you wanna do like the death grip or can you just like barely hold on as you hinge and come back up. We're gonna shoot for just 3 of those. So you can do that hinge forward, that lift the back leg, and then bring yourself back up. And then, of course, we'll switch and do the other side. You can always come around on your chair. Got that right leg straight or whatever leg you're doing. We're gonna do that hinge forward. You decide where you wanna hold. Practice that lean. And then coming back up. Try and remind yourself when you feel those wobbles, like, oh, yay, that's what I want. I'm gonna practice that, get comfortable with it, and then coming back. We got one more. Core work always, right? Like to maintain our back in that flat position, we gotta have those core muscles turned on. And bring yourself back, okay. Give those legs a little shake out. We're gonna go back. If you're just switch legs always, that kind of gives you the leg a break in between. The next ones we're gonna do, I call these the 3-point touches. We're gonna come back to our left leg. We're standing on that one leg. So glute, your butt is engaged, top of thigh, back of the leg. Other leg, you're gonna see if you can lift it up. I call it like the hanging tabletop, right? It's just a little bent out here in front. Use your chair if you need it or hands on your hips. We're gonna tap our foot out in front of us, bring the leg back to our balance. Tap the leg to the side, bring it back to your balance. Tap it behind you, bring it back up. We're gonna do that one more time. Try not to take any rest. Of course, if you need to set your foot down, you can. Out to the side
and back. Remember, wobbly is good. Tap it behind you and bring it up. Now we're gonna do a little lunge step. Your back foot stays down, but I want you to step forward, do a little lunge, come back and balance. So we're kind of on purpose throwing ourselves off balance and having to come back and reset. Step behind with a lunge and come back. We're gonna do that one more time. Step forward, lunge, bring yourself back. Always find your balance and then go into it. Step, bring it back. Behind you, a little lunge, and up. All right, next set, we lift the back leg. So you're gonna take a step. It's a little bit of a lunge, but I want you to lift and have a little balance moment here. Land your foot, balance again. Come out to the side, have a balance moment here. Land your foot, balance. Go behind you, balance here. Feel like the Karate Kid back there, and then land my foot and come back up, really like the whole time. Okay, let's do that one more time. Step, lift the back leg, come back into that balance, lift the leg and balance again. Out to the side, hold moment, come back, hold, step behind, little hold moment, land the foot, and then come back. Ooh, and then we get to do all of that fun on our other side. Switching out, move my finger in there. All right, first one's standing strong on that nice straight leg, butt engage, quad engage, other leg in our hanging tabletop position, hands in your favorite spot or on your chair. Tap front, come back to hanging tabletop, out to the side. And back. This little first part, in theory, the only thing moving is that leg, like everything else is trying to hold still. Thinking of like lifting up through the top of your head, super helpful. Thinking of that core work, out to the side, bring it back. Let's go behind us and bring it back. Now we're taking our lunge steps. We're gonna step forward, do a little lunge, come back and find the balance. A side lunge where you go out, it's like a little step. And come back, go behind you. I like that little like reach lunge and then come back. Let's do that one more time. So we're gonna do step, lunge, and back. Out to the side, little lunge, and back. Step behind, and back. Okay, last set, we lift the back leg. So it's more of a step, little lunge, and then we hold it for a second. And then we're gonna come back and balance. And we're gonna go out to the side, little hold, come back and balance. And we'll do our step behind, hold, and come back. Balance, we got one more of those. Step forward, hold moment, land, balance. Out to the side, hold, come back, hold. We got one more. Step behind, little hold moment, land your foot, come back to that hold. Okay, good. Shake that out a little bit. Grab your resistance band. If you don't have a resistance band, you can do this without a resistance band. Feet and knees hip width apart. We're gonna start with just this arm action. Grab your band pretty wide outside those shoulders, and you're just gonna lift it up overhead. Pull on your band, keep those shoulder blades down and bring it behind you. If this is not there for your shoulders, don't do it. Right? If that feels like too big of a range, you can just go to overhead and not do that full range. You can bend your arms when you bring it behind you. If that feels better, let's do one more and I'll show that. Right, you can come here and then you could bend and reach. Make like a little W with your arms and come back over. We're gonna go next into our little calf raise. We're adding some balance work to this. We're gonna lift our arms up, roll up to our toes, balls of the feet. And then as that band comes down, we're gonna roll down through our feet. Inhaling as we rise up, have a little hold moment there, and then exhale to roll back down. Inhale, try to just notice if you're nice and even in your feet. And we often talk about, like, most of us have a pattern. We tend to roll in on our feet or out on our feet. So we're always just trying to have equal weight across the balls of the feet. It's super helpful to know what you do so you can check in on yourself. Just even that mental check-in is often helpful as we do it. Let's get one more, bringing those arms up overhead. Lift those heels up
And then we'll bring that band back down. Awesome. All right, set your band down. We're gonna get just a couple more. We're gonna do a little bit of our mermaid today. I'm gonna stand on my left leg. We're gonna go right to a little one leg balance version. So standing strong, you decide where your right leg is. It can lightly touch, it can lift up in space. It could be on your leg, hand can be on your chair. Keep your hips level as you take an inhale and reach up and over to one side. And then come back to center. We're just doing 3 of these. And again, you decide, you can still have your foot on the floor on these and there's still a ton to work. Just kind of lightly put your foot down and then come back. One more time, big breath, just so we get that nice side bend through our back and then come back up. And then land both feet and just do a stretch the other way. Yeah, back. And then we're gonna switch. We'll just do that on our other side. So we get our, you can start with like feet, knees, hip width, and then just outside leg is coming up to your favorite spot. As you inhale, you're gonna tip your head, reach up and over, and then come back up. Of course, you can play with not using your hand on the chair for added bonus. And it's really always just like your challenge place, right? Where am I a little wobbly? Where do I have to work for my balance? It's always good. And coming back. Good. Land both feet. Take a little stretch up and over that other direction. And then stack to come back up. All right, we're gonna get one more balance one in. This is our standing footwork. Definitely be near your chair so you can use it as you need for balance. I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see it. Feet and knees, hip width apart, good alignment. Check in that those knees are tracking over the middle of your feet. You know, again, if you know your feet like to turn in and out, be picky with them. The action on this is going to be first, we roll up to our toes, balls of our feet, and then we do a little bend. It does not have to be big. My back is trying to stay tall and lifted. I'm not hinging forward. Roll down through your feet. You'll feel a stretch, calf, Achilles, and then stand back up. So it's a rise up, even through those feet, bend your knees, roll down, and then come back up. Let's do like 2 more. All right, lift up, and of course, use your chair as you need. Bend, roll those heels down, and come back up. So good for that foot ankle mobility and strength. Right, that balance work, roll those feet down and come back up. Now we're gonna reverse it. Flat feet, bend your knees. Feel like if there was a wall behind you, you were just like sliding down it until you kind of have to lift your heels, and then you're gonna roll up through your feet, push up to standing, and then roll your feet back down. Bend, bend, bend till it's your stretch place. Lift your heels, push up, roll it back down. And we got to do 2 more to make us even. Lift those heels, stand up, roll back down. One last one. Bend, rise up, push the floor away, roll back down. Good. Okay. Last thing of the day. We're just going to do a nice easy roll down through our back. Comfortable feet, hip width apart. Let those shoulders and arms just kind of shake out, neck. And just roll down, chin to chest, curling through your back. 1 vertebra at a time as you just get that roll, roll, roll. Let yourself kind of hang at the bottom. Maybe you want to shake out shoulders or arms. See if you can just feel that kind of traction almost feel through your neck. Head is heavy. As you're ready to come back up, just check in on those feet, right? Anchor through them. Pull the abdominals up and in and just roll yourself back up nice and tall with our shoulders rolling down and back. And then we are all done. Thank you for joining me for Balance Fun today.